Hello friends, Stoking Embers. And this video is going to be a VR to Ronin Piper. Ronin's giveaway was for to watch one of 4 movies that he believes were done in a very good format and just great movies to watch, and all 4 of them were pretty good. So my choice was the only one I had not seen of the 4, and it's a television series, Lonesome Dove. I just went ahead and bought that one. Decided to watch it over some time. And Jake, I'm sliding in under the wire. If I miss it, I miss it. That's alright. But for whatever reason, I was figuring a different date in my head. But I guess I have to do the housekeeping, as it were. This is my corncob Piper custom Missouri Meerschaum mod, and we're doing Cornell and Deal's Monster Mixture, or Mixture Monster, whatever it is. So Lonesome Dove, television series, and it came out originally, as I recall, when I was a kid, and I never watched it. My parents did. They were hooked on it, the miniseries, and what I remember most from that time was, as a kid, was there was a scene in the movie where one of the young men, the young riders, is overtaken by water moccasins in the river. What I remember most was that that was a water cooler conversation, as it were. Everybody was talking about that. My parents talking about it. Their friends sitting over poker, and they were talking about that scene. And so while I had never actually watched the film up until this point, that scene haunted me. Every time I went into the rivers here in Arizona, I was always watching. And if there was a stick coming through, watch out. I tread water faster than Michael Phelps going for his 30th gold. So, at any rate, Lonesome Dove is a television miniseries. It is a very well done, but you can tell it's a TV miniseries with its filming and the set and what have you. And it is a Western. Like all good Westerns, it covers truth and honesty, love and friendship. And I think the appeal to Westerns, and particularly this one, is that it covers the things that maybe every day we don't talk about. And if you think about the Western films, that's just what they do. They talk about love amongst men who are not father and son, but who are friends or buddies or otherwise companions that have traveled and seen things that many other people have or will never do. And this case is no different. The story is about two best friends, and that is Gus McCaw and Woodrow Call. And both of them were Texas Rangers, captains, I believe. And they're pretty good at their jobs and what they were doing. They've settled down in their Rangers time, or retired, and have become ranchers down in the Lonesome Dove in Texas. And Woodrow Call gets the idea that he wants to raise cattle up in Montana. And he won't do it unless he has Gus to go with him. Gus doesn't want to go, but he does. And so that's the adventures in this film, is their travel up through the states to get into Montana, and then where he eventually does succeed in creating a ranch for cattle. And they're driving cattle along the way. And it's no easy trip. There's friendships made, loves lost, loves refound, loves gained. But I think more than just that, this is the typical Western. This is a very good Western tale in that it talks about the background is this love between these two men who might as well be brothers. They won't do one thing without the other one going along, and they really rely on that person to get them by, to see them through. What I found most appealing, or most telling in the story, You first see it, they go into a town, I believe in New Mexico, and they're at a bar and they're being disrespected by the bartender. And Gus, who's played by, let me see here, I should know this one, Robert Duvall, he gets really perturbed by it. And he puts a whipping on the bartender, and he points to the picture that shows he and Woodrow, who's Tommy Lee Jones, in their Texas Ranger days. And when they leave and they're walking through the town, Gus makes the note or the comment that nobody remembers them. For all the good things they have done, nobody remembers who they are. Woodrow says, well, why would they? It was a long time ago. But I think that that's a prevailing theme throughout this series. When they go and they encounter other people that they meet, it's the same thing. It's friendships forgotten or lost or maybe put back into the deepest recesses of our hearts and minds. And it prevails until up through Montana. In Montana, Gus is injured, and he's going to it's a grave wound, and in his own stubborn way, he will not take the appropriate treatment for it. And Woodrow cannot convince him otherwise. So before Gus goes, he makes Woodrow promise that he will take him back to Lonesome Dove, because he wants to be buried in this grove that he had once fell in love with, and a woman that you see throughout the film. Woodrow realizes that Gus won't do it, and probably Gus will not he will not end his own suffering until Woodrow agrees. So when the time comes and Gus has passed, Woodrow keeps up on his promise. He waits until the spring, and then he travels from Montana back to Texas. And he does so by cart and horse. And while it's not the same venture going up, it's still an arduous task. And along the way, the story or the legend of those two kind of precedes his arrival into towns. And they know who these guys were. They know that they were former Texas Rangers, and that Woodrow is keeping his promise to his best friend. Right up until they get down all the way through into Texas, and he actually puts, of his own means, he lays Gus to rest in that grove. And in one of the closing scene, there's a reporter who recognizes Woodrow, and he recognizes him having been the captain in the Rangers. And he proceeds to ask him questions because he wants to tell a story for the newspaper, and Woodrow is reluctant to talk. Until finally the reporter says that, or makes comment that Woodrow and Gus had driven cattle all the way up from Texas to Montana to be the first cattle rancher in Montana. And he makes a statement that people have said that Gus and Woodrow were men of vision. Woodrow pauses and reflects, and in doing so, his adventure and his life kind of pass before his eyes. We get a recap of the journey of friendships made and loves lost and friendships lost, and good times and death, and Woodrow finally comes out of this momentary dream, and he replies back to the reporter, "Men of vision, yeah, we were great men of vision." But he wasn't referring to the drive to cattle up to Montana, because that's where it was going to be the greatest ever. His vision was that of a life lived, of a venture taken, and I think of his friend Gus. And while Gus may have been upset that nobody remembered who they were, and Woodrow even, I think, had those same concerns or inner thoughts, that really wasn't the case. They may have been forgotten to the modern hustle and bustle of a then western town, growth and expansion, but the two had made themselves a legend, and they had left a story for other people. And most importantly, they left a story for themselves and the friends and those people that they touched. And I think that is the the true message in the movie and that of most Westerns. It's not that we get to choose our destiny. It's not that we get to choose our legacy of what others think of us. It is that when we are said and done, it is our legacy that we have left for those that we have touched. And what we mean to them is for them to make. But what they meant to us is what we hold dear. And I think then when we look at this film, that's what it tries to tell us. It isn't that people are forgotten because the rest of the world doesn't matter. It's what our own friendships and those mean to us. Ronin, I hope this one does well for you. It's last minute. I really thought I had more time. I thoroughly enjoy the channel. It is a great channel to watch. I'm looking for more videos on the family homestead. That's just some part of Americana I've never got to live. Good luck to you. I hope to see you again at your 500 subscription. Catch you later.
Never cared, baby.